Means if 600,000 men, which could be approximately 3 million men, women, and children, came out, but many more died. Perhaps up to, what would be 12 million people died in Mitzrayim, while 3 million came out, Baruch Hashem. But if you think the 6 million of the Holocaust was bad news, which it was horrible, 12 million is even worse. 12 million Jews dying, and it had to happen during Makas Choshech. Rashi says because then, at least we could bury them without the embarrassment of the Mitzrayim saying, you're just like us. Hashem kills you just like he kills us. You guys also were bad and you deserve punishment. Hashem didn't want that to Hashem. So he made it all happen during the Choshech. So the Jews were not only experiencing the darkness and the light and the lesson that gave us, they were also, the ones who didn't die had to bury all of their relatives who did die. So if you get depressed going to one Levaya, or you think during Rabbi Akiva's town meeting during the Sphere Sa'imer was a problem, 24,000 dying, imagine trying to bury 12 million people in 3 days, or 6 days, or however long they had, of the right? A bit of a depressing, right? Probably like 10 times worse than going to Auschwitz. Imagine anyone who's gone to Auschwitz, how horrible they feel when they come out of there and they realize life's not a joke. Right? There's something serious over here. There's serious consequences. And then I want to make sure we don't have that again. Right? Like some people say, never again. Those people who say never again, they have no guarantee. But we at least know that if we really are careful, it's possible we can make sure never again. But however bad we feel going to Auschwitz, how did a person feel when you had to bury 12 million people in 6 days? Or 7 days of the Makat Choshech? It must have been horrifying. So think of the person who, on the one hand, he was able to see when the Goyim couldn't see. He was able to move when the Goyim couldn't move. He had light, the Goy had Choshech. He had the light of the Torah, the light of creation. And the Goy had the darkness of Gehenna. But beyond that, he saw that even the Jews who didn't want to leave, they were like the Mitzvah, they were locked in. Why did the Jews die? Why did the 12 million die? Why didn't they come out? The Kasha is asked. Dasan v'Avirim were bad people. Right? All the time. They're the instigators of all the problems in the Torah. Dasan v'Avirim. And they came out of Mitzrayim. They didn't die in the Makat Choshech. Koirach, who had a lot of problems, who later would go straight down in the middle of the mouth of the earth. He had problems, but he came out of Mitzrayim. Why did some people come out and some people didn't? It didn't seem to be related to being a righteous person because even Dasan v'Avirim got out. Correct? So what was the difference? Who got out? What was the ticket? What's our ticket? What's our ticket to getting out of this stunk and agulus that we're in? Wanting to get out. You want to get out? You will get out. The ones who died in Makas Choshech didn't want to get out. And we see actually this remained a problem even in the desert. Even the ones who did get out, they're always talking about, we remember the good food of Egypt. Like some people in Israel say, we remember our American food, right? And we remember, we want to go back. A few times they actually wanted to go back to Mitzrayim. Can you believe it? Right? Now we can't judge them. It must have been very difficult in the desert. I wouldn't last too long in the desert. But in the meantime, we see this mentality. And actually, the Eben Ezra says that's why they needed 40 years in the desert. Why? So that the first generation that came out should die out. And the ones that came into Eretz Yisrael shouldn't have that slave mentality. A slave is very hard to get out of that mentality. Right? If a person is born into slavery, especially, their whole mentality is to be a slave. It's very hard for them to break out of that. That's why the blacks had a very hard time in America. Even after the Civil War and they won their freedom, they had a very, very hard time. So that wanting to stay in Egypt, wanting to stay with the same situation, we love to stay in even if it's a bad situation, but it's what I'm used to. That's the Choshech. That's like being locked into the Choshech. I don't really want to move. I don't feel like I can move. I feel like this is where my place is. But you're in Choshech. No, this is where I grew up. This is where I'm used to. I want to stay in the Choshech. Those people didn't get a chance to leave. If they were so attached to the Choshech, they were like the Mitzrayim and the Makat Choshech. They stayed in a bad way. Right? But if they wanted to leave, even Dasan v'Avirim wanted to leave, Gemara says because they lost all their money, they didn't want to leave for the right reasons. They wanted to leave because they heard they could get a better job out in the desert. Maybe we'll get some cash, right? You see, they're always looking for extra food, extra this and that, right? Dasan v'Avirim, always cooking up trouble. But they wanted to leave. even for the wrong reason. Like people leave America because America, my creditors are after me, right? That's why Dasan Vavirim left. The creditors were after them. But they got to get out because they wanted to leave. That's the whole difference. So the Jews who were bearing all these 12 million, and they were watching the Egyptians in the darkness, and they could see through the safe into where the money was being stored. The physical world had no bearing anymore. The light was showing them even what was beyond the physical. They were shown a big lesson. The lesson is, if you want to go in the way of Hashem, this is where you'll be. You'll be able to leave Mitzrayim. You won't be locked in the Choshech. You'll be able to see beyond the physical. And you'll get the light of creation, the light, the special spiritual light that's really, especially Or Chadash Batzion to him, the Beis HaMikdash will reveal to us, and especially the Ziva, Shechina, and Olam HaEmes will reveal to us. That's the path that we have to be on. That's the path that we have to realize is being shown in these last 3 Makos. You want to go on this path, away from the darkness of Mitzrayim, and you want to go towards the light of Hashem and the light of the Torah. This is the path that we have to go on. And therefore, every time we're in a situation, we have to think, it's a bit of a dark situation, a bit of a gloomy situation. Right? We go home and the wife says this to us, or whatever. Someone says this to us, or the bank says this to us. Right? It's a lot of darkness, right? And you turn on the news, if you're that kind of person who listens to the news, a lot of darkness, right? If you don't listen to the news, you hear the darkness. But that's not our path. That's not where we're going. That's not where we're heading. We have the ability to change the darkness into light. We have the ability to find the light of creation, the light, especially if we spend our time learning. It's all in the Torah. But even in our mitzvahs, which come from the Torah, there's also light. You do another mitzvah, you smile at someone, you do help someone, you bring people to the yeshiva, right? You help the yeshiva, that's the biggest light there could be. And you daven every morning, Or Chadash Al Tzion To'ir, that big bracha about light. It's to teach us something, that we're heading for the light, we want the light. That's our whole goal in life, is to get to that light. And with that kind of attitude, Bezrat Hashem, we will be Zoiche, Bezrat Hashem, Rachmei Hashem, to the Geula Shlema and the Or Chadash Al Tzion To'ir.
Amen.
Shkoyach.